This game's tier list can seem pretty set in stone sometimes, but in reality, major shifts in the meta can happen extremely quickly, especially when new resource hotspots and points of interest open up. Builds which are well adapted to capitalize on these flashpoints can see dramatic ascensions on the tier list. One such event occurred when humans unlocked the food storage ability. This greatly improved the humans' survivability by giving them a consistent source of XP even during harsh winters or famines. That is, if they could defend their stockpiles. These stashes were incredibly valuable, and could easily support entire colonies of rats and sparrows if improperly guarded. And while these Neolithic humans did have some techniques they could use to try and protect their precious grain on their own, ultimately their saving grace came in the form of a previously low-tier predator build that was barely scraping by in the North African savanna, the Wildcat. A build which, once domesticated, would go on to become one of the most oppressive, overpowered predators in the current meta.
Okay guys, this is a quick little intro about what I'm about to talk about. Cats as usual, because I can't get away from it, but the thing that kind of impulsed me to go over this video in particular, and there's a few more things I want to cover that I found pretty interesting in this video, was this article I stumbled across. You can see the title right there. What research says about cats, they're selfish, unfeeling, and environmentally harmful. I spoke about the quote-unquote environmental hazards that cats pose in my Cats and Alpha Generation presentation, where I go over what this guy says, Joseph Carter. Talks about how, kind of goes over the myths of cats and how they're used as pest control, and I offer evidence as a counterpoint with actual evidence rather than just assertions like this guy did. Like, he just made a 22-second video and basically made a bunch of assertions, didn't offer any proof, any evidence, nothing, not even an anecdote. So just a bunch of hearsay. Y'all can go over that. There's a timestamp if y'all want to go check it out. We're on the 1 hour 13 mark. I might go over it, but so kind of go over this article piece by piece. And I've talked about before how there's an anti-cat kind of propaganda slander in the media. And when I say the media, I meant movies and TV shows, and this is literally the media, and I can't find the date this was posted for some reason. It's really bizarre. It's from Vox, according to this, but it's almost as if it just appeared here in order to get my attention. There's a lot of, it just seems like all of these articles are about cats, these extra articles, and there's no, like I said, there's no date on this, so it's super weird. I don't know if it's just AI generated. Someone named by Joseph Stromberg, he doesn't have a link. He works for Vox. I guess we can check that out real quick. I can look up their name. Stromberg. See if this guy's a real person. Writes about science things. Going over his articles real quick. 63 articles, so 63 pages of articles. I don't see the cat article. Seems like a pro dog nutter, to be honest. Lots of dog nuttery in the world. This dude's probably a dog nutter. Let's go, because I already read the article in advance. That's what kind of prompted me to... I can go over this article bit by bit and kind of show the fallacies that are going on. So, just to start off, though it's always this ongoing story about cats versus dogs, right? And I think in the metaphysical aspect of this, dog is God spelled backwards. So it's God versus cat. And when I say God, I don't mean capital G, I mean God as in the fake God, like the Saturn cult, Satan cult. That God, the fake God. Just to get into it, Starting off here, compared to dogs, scientists have found cats don't seem to have the same sort of emotional attachment to their owners and show genuine affection far less often than you might think. Further, they're an environmental disaster, killing literally billions of birds in the US every year, many of them from endangered species. And like I said before in the video where I talk about... Let's go ahead and find it real quick. Right here. Where a lot of these people like where I go over this video where these people are feeding cats and you can hear birds in the background. And this is like easily 20 cats in this one frame. Yet you can hear ravens, you can hear songbirds, you can hear all kinds of birds in this video. So this is what I mean by I offer counter evidence. Okay? So right off the bat, we run into a fallacy, okay? And even if this is true, the optics don't really match what these anti-cat people say. And like I said, I think in that video I said, I believe statistics are overblown because they just make an assumption that there are no birds, quote unquote, in the vicinity, that they must have been killed. And I said before, like in this video right here, where I say that when one bird dies, it doesn't matter what species, they can be different species than the other birds. They have a very specific call that says, holy shit, there's a cat in the vicinity, we need to move to a new nest, we need to move our family to another tree or whatever, and they get out of Dodge. They leave the area, maybe like a few blocks down. But you have these nutty researchers coming along, these nutty scientists, and they go, oh, there's the birds are gone, the cats must have killed them all. And they just make assumptions. They don't have a body count, okay? They just assume, oh, it must be billions because there's the birds are gone, right? So, fallacy number one, paragraph number one, consider it debunked. You know, these people are just, I don't know what their goal is, why they're so anti-cat. It's okay if you don't like cats, I don't mind that, but it's taken to another level a lot of times with these people. And this paragraph alone kind of implies that already off the bat, compared to dogs, as if the dogs are the loving creatures, which they aren't. I don't think dogs love humans either. Like these people make the claim cats don't like people. I don't think dogs love people. They don't love their owners. They're food obsessed. Like pound for pound, just food obsessed little mutants that I don't care for. I think they're disgusting. We'll check out this article too. Oh, Toxoplasma gondii. Oh, your cat is making you crazy. We'll go over that in a minute. Most alarming, and it points to this article, there's compelling evidence that a parasite often found in cat feces can subtly change people's personalities over time, increasing rates of neuroticism, schizophrenia, and perhaps even suicide. And we're going to go over this later, but really quick, these neuroticism, schizophrenia, and suicide are symptoms of other problems. Okay, it's not from the parasite. And there's a lot of speculation on whether or not this parasite, the Toxoplasma gondii, even affects humans at all. So there's no hard evidence for that. This person, again, just making a claim, like this other asshole did. Forgot his name already. Joseph Carter, I think it is. Yeah, Joseph Carter. Just jumping to conclusions, you know, spewing their nonsense. And I got no source for whether or not the parasite affects humans, so you just got to take my word for it. And don't believe me. Like, I want you to do your own research. Don't take my word for it. So we'll go over this a little bit later, because it gets brought up again. In other words, research is telling us that cats are selfish, unfeeling, environmentally devastating creatures. If you need to convince someone not to get a cat, here's the research you need to show them. And it's not research, it's somebody interpreting research, just to get that clear. This is a problem I have with research and data, is that you need an interpreter to interpret that data. And human beings have biases, and they have their neuroses, and they have their agendas, okay? So when they take their data and when they take the research that somebody else did, they're going to inject their own bullshit. They're going to project their own insecurities and their biases and their agendas, and this is when we run into these fallacies. Okay, that's the thing about research and data, is that research and data isn't truth on its own. You need an interpreter to kind of interpret the data. Okay, just to get that out there. In case you didn't know, in case you've never thought about it or you didn't know. That's the way data and research works. And I'm a layman, okay? I'm a layman. Okay, I never went to college, and even I know this. 40-year-old man, you know, the highest education I got was high school. And even I know this. And a lot of people don't know this. Even those jackasses that go to university for 10 years don't understand this. We got a cat lover, let's see. See this loads. This Daniel Mills, veterinary researcher at UK's University of Lincoln, is a cat lover. Okie I don't see a picture of his cat. Move that. Just checking if it's framed right. So they did research, just to summarize this paragraph, that cats as a whole do not love their owners back, at least not in the same way that dogs do, and dogs don't love their owners. We've already established that. This is retarded as well. This is a Disney fairy tale way of thinking right here, to assume that your dog loves you when you're just giving it treats. When you watch your dog, if you're a dog owner listening to this, I want you to pay attention to what your dog looks at. If he's looking at your hands constantly, he doesn't love you. He's looking for treats, okay? And if you're being honest with yourself, you need to start being honest with yourself, dog lovers out there. I'm a cat lover, and I'm not a cat nut in that way. I understand that cats are animals. The researchers adapted a classic child psychology experiment called the strange situation, in which a parent slips out of a room while a baby or young child is playing and then later returns. The child's behavior upon being abandoned and reunited with the parent is observed and analyzed. This sort of thing has been also done with dogs several times, including by Mills. I don't know what that means. And the experiments have found that dogs demonstrate an attachment with their owners. Compared to a stranger, the dogs become more disturbed when their owners leave and interact with them more when they return. Okay, we established that. By contrast, Mills' cat experiment, which was still ongoing and haven't yet been published, were found featured in a BBC special. We'll look at that really quick. Pages doesn't fucking work. Anyway, a BBC special that doesn't exist. Haven't come to the same conclusion. So why are you even talking about it, jackass? Aren't you about truth and research? So you're gonna talk about an experiment that hasn't even been concluded yet, and you're gonna draw your own conclusions. I agree. On the whole, the cats seem uninterested both when the owners depart and return. Owners, because you're going off, dude. Okay. Two different animals, cat versus dog. While all the while you're a human being. You can't expect for a dog and a cat to have the same reaction to the owner not being there, because they're two different animals, two different minds, two completely different species. Hey Muffin, what's wrong? Hey Muffin, what's the matter? You're cute, yeah. I don't know if y'all can hear my cat, Muffin. She's making noise. Hold on. I'm gonna turn my filters off, see if I can get her to talk. Hey Muffin. Muffin, come here. Muffin. Hey, come here. Say something. Hey girly girl. Muffin, say something. What? Muffin. I can't get her to meow. Say something, dude. Are you playing? Yeah, you're playing. You're cute. Hey, little girl. Hey, girl. You're adorable. I'm gonna take a picture of her. I'll take a picture of her as she's sitting here. Hey, little miss. Look at me, dude. Look. Hey, you're a cutie. She's a sweetie. She's the cutest kitty cat. Alright, anyway, let me get my filters back on. Okay, so we've established that two different species, right? So that's already a fallacy, debunked. Get the fuck out. Quote, that doesn't mean that the cat's investing in the same sort of emotional relationship. I don't know what investing means. It's a weird way to put it. At the time, he said the results were inconclusive, but at the very least, it's safe to say that they haven't yielded the same obvious results that the dog studies have. And I want to know what obvious results, quote unquote, that these dog studies have, shown. But since this experiment hasn't had a conclusion, but this asshole, whatever his name is drawing his own conclusions because of reasons. That's just journalism, right? You're just a journalist. You're just a disingenuous piece of shit if you're a journalist nowadays. Maybe there's integrity 20 years ago, 30 years ago. That doesn't exist anymore. They're all pieces of shit. This isn't just because of the cat thing. This is for many reasons. Y'all already know. At least y'all should know. Let me close some of these tabs. Hold on. Anyway. Meanwhile, other experiments carried out by a pair of Japanese researchers have provided evidence for a fact already known to most cat owners. They can hear you calling their name but just don't really care. As detailed in a study, the researchers gathered 20 cats, one at a time, and played them recordings of 3 different people calling their name, 2 strangers plus their owners. Oh, is that why it's called the stranger experiment? Maybe. Regardless of the order, the cats consistently reacted differently upon hearing their owner's voice in terms of ear and head movement as graded by independent raters who didn't know which voice belonged to the owner. However, none of them meowed or actually approached the speaker as though they'd be interested in seeing the person. Okay? But they are differentiating between voices and are showing a little bit of interest, right? Why are cats so different from dogs in this way? Because dogs want food. I answered your question. All right, next question. The researchers speculate that the difference can be explained by evolutionary history. Dogs were domesticated an estimated 15,000 years ago compared to just 9,500 years ago for cats. And cats weren't domesticated, by the way. Dogs' DNA were tampered with 15,000 years ago. Wolf DNA was tampered with. But this doesn't fucking count, you incredulous asshole. Additionally, dogs aren't animals, they're mutants, okay? And I'm not saying that as an insult, I'm just telling you their DNA's been tampered with, that makes them mutants. Additionally, it's believed that dogs were actively selected by humans. Yes, you got that right. It's the only thing that's been correct in this article so far. To guard and herd animals, whereas cats likely selected themselves, spending time near people simply to eat the rats consuming grain stores. And that's a very big deal. And this person's trying to undercut just how big of a deal this is. But this relationship, the socio relationship between cats and humans, was a very big deal because that's what allowed agriculture to thrive. And agriculture, metaphysically, it represents independence, where you could actually settle down. A civilization can begin flourishing because they can actually settle down and have peace and have science and build and have recreational activities and build civilization. And this is all due to the cats, because cats allowed human beings to store their grain, to make bread, to protect their crops, etc. If it wasn't for cats, there wouldn't be modern civilization, period. And this person wants to undercut this fact because he's an anti-cat asshole, but I'm telling you that's the way it is. And this is what my research has led me to. This isn't something I learned by reading a research paper. This is something I've learned from just what's been revealed to me. Keep reading. This difference, along with extra evolutionary time, could explain why dogs are so much more interested in responding to the human voice. And I already told you it's because they're food obsessed. It has nothing to do with the dog liking you. If you're a dog owner, whoever this is, your dog doesn't love you. He loves the food you give him. And you're delusional, absolutely delusional if you think otherwise. Your cat isn't really showing you affection. Cat lovers will probably respond here that their pets do show affection, purring and rubbing against their legs. But there's a good reason to believe that much of the time these sorts of behaviors that look like affection are conducted with entirely different goals in mind. Many cats, for instance, will rub against the leg of their owner or another human when the person enters a room. It's easy to construe this as a sign of affection. But many researchers interpret this as an attempt by the cat to spread his or her scent. Yes, that is true. As a way to mark territory, and yes, that is true as well. You're not gonna hear an objection from me. Observations of semi-feral cats show that they commonly rub up against trees or other objects in the exact same way which allows them to deposit pheromone-containing secretions that naturally come out of their skin. It's on their saliva as well. Okay. So they're just kind of stating facts here, so there's nothing to debunk really. But I understand what the subtext is, which is like your cats aren't showing you affection, they're just spreading their scent and spreading their hormones, or their pheromones rather, which is true. But we got to remember that modern human beings take baths, and you come out of the bath, you smell different all the time, either through your sweat, or you just got out of the shower, or you got through mowing the lawn, or whatever. Because I noticed that whenever, let's say I'm mowing the lawn for instance, you come back in the house, you smell like grass, you smell like dirt, and the first thing my cat wants to do, let's just use Max for an example because he's the most affectionate, quote unquote. He'll immediately start rubbing on me, start letting me pet him, like he wants me to pet him, he loves it, he leans in. So how do you explain that, asshole? Like, how do you explain the leaning in thing? Have you ever even been around a cat who just seems to enjoy the affection and the attention? And we're gonna go over that too in a minute, but they're really attempting to spread their scent because you don't smell like the group anymore. Like, they want you to smell like them because they want you to be protected from predators. And I don't know that for sure, right? I'm kind of making stuff up the way this dude's making stuff up, but that's the way I kind of see it as. Whereas they're attempting to spread their scent in order to not only protect themselves, but to protect the human as well. Because the human stinks, they smell like weirdness, okay? Purring in some cases, continue reading, purring in some cases also seems to mean something different than what you imagine. As part of a 2009 study, researchers at the University of Sussex recorded the purring sounds made by 10 different cats in 2 types of situations, when they wanted food and when they didn't. Let's see this 2009 study. Oh my god, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, Jesus Christ. Look at these cat names. Hey, Max. Awesome. So Archie, Clyde, Fuzzy, Hippolyth, Marbles, Max, Mojo, Morgan, McKee, Peepoo, Socks, and their long-suffering owners. Cute. I like the name Marbles. I'm not gonna go through this, guys, but here's... Oh, wait, look, here's a sound clip. Whoa. That's some trilling, man. Peepoo. Well, it's nice to have a source. So, did they draw any conclusions? I think this is just offering like, weird evidence. Let's see what they say. I'm done looking at that. Okay, as it turned out, the food-related purrs were noticeably different. The otherwise low-tone noises had a spike in a 220 to 520 Hz frequency, which is similar to a baby's cry. Human study participants also rated these purrs as more urgent and less pleasant. Okay, I'd like to know which ones. Here, let's open it back up. The 220 to 520 Hertz. I don't know if that's there. So really low frequency, I guess, is... I don't know how to interpret this kind of stuff, guys, so I might just skip this. I'm a smooth brain, okay? Like I said, I never went to college. I don't know how to interpret this shit. Okay, so this is decimals right here. Yeah, 490 Hertz, 330 Hertz. I don't know how to interpret this, guys. I'm not gonna pretend that I know, so we're gonna skip it. Keep reading. What may be going on, the researchers concluded, is that cats have figured out how to purr in a way that triggers humans' parenting instincts. They don't always purr this way, but they do so when they want food because they know it'll get results. And that may be true. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna argue against that. I don't see how that's like a bad thing. Anyway, finally, there's some evidence turned up by Mills that many cats don't actually like being petted by humans at all. In 2013 study, he and other researchers measured levels of stress hormones in cats with the intention of figuring out whether having multiple cats in the same household is a bad idea. That didn't turn out to be true, but they did find that cats who allowed themselves to be petted had higher stress levels afterwards than cats who had disliked it so much that they simply ran away. Okay. I mean, I don't know what to say about that, really. I mean, you stop petting a cat and their stress levels go up, wouldn't that kind of imply that the stopping of the petting of the cat is what caused the stress levels to go up because they want to be petted more? I don't know. You could interpret that in many ways. It's not really worth really talking about. It's kind of weird. See what I mean? But like, it's kind of weird how he just kind of jumps to conclusions instead of trying to be a little more impartial. Like me personally, if y'all been following me for a while, you know that I try to be as impartial as possible. Like, I'm willing to listen to this. Well, I'm willing to read this and have a bit of an open mind. But I have my own experiences, like for instance, the dog thing, where it's like, I understand that dogs are animals and that cats are animals, and I'm not a psychopath in that way, where it's like, I believe that dogs are these like mystical, magical creatures that a lot of people think they are. Felis catus are cats from multi-cat households more stress, evidence from assessment of fecal something metabolite analysis. I don't care about this, skip that. Alright, cats as I'm having trouble saying that. Cats are an environmental disaster. In the US, domestic cats are an invasive species. They originated in Asia. I don't know if that's true. I've always been told they're originating in Africa, like the African desert. You know, parts of Egypt. But they may have originated in Asia for all I know. I'm pretty sure that Africa and Asia were trading around that time as well. Because it did seem that cats showed up out of nowhere, according to, like, you know what, I was researching that kind of stuff, and from what I concluded, it did really seem as if cats just appeared out of nowhere in Africa. Anyway, you turn on my fan. It's getting hot. Continue reading, and research shows that whenever they're let outside, cats' carnivorous activity has a devastating effect on wild bird and small mammal populations, even if cats are well fed. So we already talked about that before, so I'm not going to go over it again. See, of course, dogs are likely a net negative for the environment too. There isn't much data available, research notes, but researchers note that dogs spread diseases such as rabies and also prey on various species, including many types of birds as well. And it's not just rabies, man. Like, dog saliva is incredibly toxic. Like, if a dog bites you or even nips you, whatever part of the body can go sepsis, and you might lose that limb. It might travel through your bloodstream. It might give you a stroke. There's so many ways to just get taken out by a dog bite. It's not just about the dog mauling you or whatever, or disfiguring you. It's any kind of bite that can be serious. It's not just rabies. He did say such as rabies, implying other things, but people like to hang on to this rabies thing, and they think that since their stupid mutt got a rabies shot, that they're okay. It's like, you're not okay. Dog saliva is incredibly toxic. But in terms of raw numbers, it seems unlikely that they can match the impact of cats. And I beg to differ, only because I've talked about this before. If you want to talk about dogs versus cats, dogs are the most dangerous because people who hoard pets, I think the dog people put others in danger. It's not just you in this. They're trying to make a case that cat people, like cat nuts, endanger the environment. Dogs endanger everything around them, family members, young children, etc. Just by their overall aggression. It doesn't matter what size the dog is. It can be a little poodle. It can be those little yapper dogs that are like 3 pounds. It doesn't matter. A small dog can maul a newborn, and I've seen plenty of stories where that's the case. It's crazy. It's heartbreaking. I don't want to go over it because it's just too much. Just look up. You can Google right now. Let's do it right now, actually. Dog attacks. News. 13 hours ago, 8 hours ago, 12 hours ago, 1 day ago, June 6th, that was a few months ago, 1 day ago, 4 days ago, 1 week ago, dog bite, dog bite, dog bite. Okay? Just pages and pages of pages, stories after story after story of dogs attacking humans. I don't care about the environment. Okay? I don't give a fuck if a cat is killing billions, quote unquote. Birds. Oh, the poor birds. Talk about the dog issues in children, man. You want to get serious about animal attacks? Cat attacks. I look up cat attacks, they're still showing dogs. Hey, look. Cat attacks dog. After cat attack. What kind of cat attack? Like a wildcat?
Dogs is up in the air tonight after attacking a cat. The dogs are facing possible euthanasia, and it is not their first time attacking a pet.
Oh.
The night team's John Parrott
Okay.
live in studio.
Never mind. That was just a dog attacking a cat. Wow. I looked up literal cat attack and a dog story shows up. Coyotes attack cats. Coyotes attack cats. 3 huskies taken by animal control after attacking a cat. Oh man, I look up cat attacks. I'm trying to be impartial here, and Google is still showing me as results about dog attacks. So what does that tell you about which animal is more dangerous, quote unquote? These fucking jokers, these people who make these articles are fucking jokes. I could stop right here, just to show you how disingenuous they are. So we can go ahead and keep reading on, even though I could literally just stop here at this sentence right here, and we're done, because it's like, do I even need to go on? I've already showed you multiple articles. Just scrolling down the news, dude. And you want to talk about the impact of cats? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Compared to dogs, you keep up bringing up dogs, dude. I don't want to talk about dogs anymore. But if you want to talk about dogs versus cats, there's no contest, man. A few billion birds a year with no evidence? There's a study here. Let's see. Okay, so this is from 2012. And again, I've talked about interpreting data and how interpreting data has to filter through a person. Right? So we've been over that already. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. And again, I don't know if they're making assumptions that since a cat kills a bird, that they're killing all the birds. That the birds leave, right? I've already explained this. The birds leave, and they automatically assume that the cats must have killed the birds in the area. Maybe I'll read this on my own sometimes. I'm not going to go over it in this video. Dude. Okay, let's read this. The study's methods came under some criticism. It seems likely the estimate is somewhat high, but it's clear that the number of birds killed by cats is at least in the tens of millions. So you mean to tell me you don't know the difference between tens of millions and 3 billion? Or 20 billion? Dude, do you know the difference between a million and a billion? You multiply that by whatever? Are you serious? Are you serious? You don't know what 10 million, tens of millions, you don't know the difference between that and billions? So you want to fucking seriously make this, you want to seriously make an article where I'm supposed to take you seriously? And you say some bullshit like this at the end? At least tens of millions, after you made a claim it was in the billions. My dude. Alright, let's keep reading. This isn't just a trivial problem, it's a truly significant one. The best data we have on birds killed by other sorts of threats from the Fish and Wildlife Service isn't great. It's a little old, and the estimates are rough. That don't really matter to me. Like, just say what year it was from. But a comparison indicates that the cats kill as many birds as threats like collisions with cell phone towers, power lines, cars, and wind turbines. Like together, or I don't know. That's weird to me. Power lines kill. How often do power lines? When was the last time? All right, I'm talking to my audience here. When was the last time you saw a bird get killed by a car or get killed by a power line? Because that'd be the two most common things the average person would kind of see. Muffin's meowing again. I don't know. She's chasing her mouse. She likes to play with her little catnip mouse, and it's like 3 a.m. She does this. Funny. She does this like death cry whenever she's playing with her mouse. It's really cute. I guess she's letting us know she killed something. Anyway, your cat may be driving you crazy. Alright. Keep reading. Finally, there's the weird, unsettling connection between cats and a parasite called Toxoplasma gondii, and litter boxes. Dogs can get this too, by the way. This parasite can infect pretty much any sort of animal, including humans. It can only sexually reproduce when inside the intestines of cats. That's not true at all. Why would you say something like that? Because any other animals can get it too. Rodents can get it, possums can get it, raccoons can get it, dogs can get it. It's not just the intestines of cats. And there's Muffin going again. In order to get there, it's been found to alter the behavior of infected rodents, making them less fearful of predators. In other words, the T. gondii gets picked up by a mouse and increases the chance that the mouse will get eaten by a cat, and so the parasite can reproduce again. And I don't know the validity to that. I think that's a myth. But I might be wrong about that. This may seem bizarre enough, but over the past few years, some scientists have begun to suspect that the parasites alter human behavior in similar ways. Humans often pick up T. gondii from handling cats as litter boxes, because the parasites can be found in their feces, and there's an increasing amount of evidence that the resultant long-term latent infection can suddenly change a person's personality over time. And you can get this from dogs as well. And like I said, there's really no solid research data or evidence that concludes that it affects humans in any way whatsoever. Of course, we're not rodents, so the parasites aren't successful in getting us eaten by cats, but the actual consequences are just as troubling. People who have been infected have greater rates of neuroticism, schizophrenia, and have slower reflex times in lab experiments. As a result, it seems like they get into traffic accidents more often. There's evidence that they have higher rates of suicide. And like I said before, guys, because people who hoard pets already have these issues. This is just a symptom of bigger issues. It's not because of the T. gondii. This is insane to me. Let's go over this real quick. Slower reflex time. What age group are we talking about? Are we talking about older people who own cats? Are we talking about younger people? What demographics are we talking about? I don't even have to keep going. I've been over this already. It's like, this is the shit that gets put out into the world. Anti-cat propaganda. All of this whole article. This article is the perfect example of anti-cat propaganda that I've ever seen. It has everything in it that I talked about before. Now, everyone who owns a cat doesn't get infected by T. gondii, and there are other ways of getting the parasite, like eating uncooked meat, and the infection itself doesn't seem to cause these behavioral changes in everyone. They just occur at slightly higher rates among millions of people worldwide who are infected. So is there like a COVID test equivalent of checking if you have T. gondii? But from what the research I've done, dogs get T. gondii from eating other animal feces like raccoon feces or even cat feces, and dogs love eating feces, okay? So I think the probability of a dog getting this parasite is way more likely than the average cat, because the average cat, or at least the average house cat, is going to be indoors. So your indoor cats, I want you to stay with me with this. The research guy, what's his name? Joseph Stromberg, if you're listening, I want you to picture this. Picture this, okay? It's really easy. You have a cat nut, right? They're a cat hoarder. And they keep all their cats inside. and they don't have a rodent problem. The average cat owner doesn't have a rodent problem, all right? Rodent problems are pretty rare. All right, I'm just getting that out there. And the average cat owner is probably going to have their cat indoors and they don't let them outside. Okay, you following me? So the average cat owner isn't going to have T. gondii, Toxoplasma gondii. They're just not going to have it. But I want you to picture this. The dog owners out there. You have a dog owner. They have to take their dog outside all the time to go on walks, to use the bathroom, to urinate, to poop, to smell the flowers. And the likelihood of a dog, they go to the park, right? They go to a wildlife park or wherever these dog nuts take their mutts. They go to a dog park and they let their dog sniff around. They let them get into everything. They let them eat feces. They let them eat whatever. Anything off the ground they can get their grubby little jaws on. They'll go and do it, right? Okay? You got that picture in your head where the cats are indoors, minding their own business. You have the average dog owner going out and their dog's out in the world, man, where the T. plasma, the T. gondii is going to get them. The T. gondii might get them, right? Okay? So, you mean to tell me that the average cat owner is more susceptible, is more at risk to getting T. gondii than the average dog owner? Does that make any fucking sense to you? Joseph? Can I call you Joseph? What's up, Joe? Jose. Joseph Stromberg. I'm gonna tag you in this video. I want you to send me an email and tell me what you think. I want you to make a video response to my video going over every fallacy that I point out in your little stupid fucking article. Okay? Because I think you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit for making an article like this where you make all these assertions, your own personal little fucking opinions, where I can actually give you, not only can I give you anecdotal evidence, I can give you actual evidence. Because I'm not a cat nut in that way. You come off as a dog nut, and you just don't like cats, and that's fine, dude. If you want to be a dog nutter and not like cats, like, that's your business, brother. I got nothing against you, but I think you're a piece of shit for posting an article like this. Like, you're not a journalist, you're just a propagandist. Enough of that. What else can I go over? Toxoplasma gondii. So right off the bat, 2012 article. The parasite which is excreted by cats in their feces, and already right off the bat, we start off with false information. So I'm not going to even bother reading the rest. This in itself, this first, not even a sentence, like part of a sentence, the first little section of a sentence is already wrong. Why should I take the rest of your stupid fucking article seriously? Alright, guys.
And heavily into the efficiency to run for lead. The efficiency. Giving variety from carcasses, this update granted mammals access to a new ability called carnassial teeth, a side grade of the dentition skill tree, which allows users to gain bonus XP from carcasses and carrion sources. This may seem like a minor thing, but it completely changed up the metagame and made hyper-carnivorous builds a lot more viable, giving rise to a new archetype called the Carnivoran.
You know, I didn't know skunks were
many of the
carnivores,
most
or considered
popular
carnivores.
predator builds in the current meta.
That's interesting. I'm gonna make this full screen. Oop.
Many of the most popular predator builds in the current meta. Carnivorans are divided into two
I
factions,
don't know how true that is.
caniforms and feliforms.
I don't know if that's something he's making up. Okay, that is a word. Wow. Carniforms, and what was the other one? Oopsie. Caniform, so it's like a canine. Caniform. Okay, so like bears, coyotes. Alright. That's cool. What was the other one? Meerkats, cats, mongooses, lions. Mongoose, wow. So the carnivore split. This is what's kind of crazy to me as well. These people who like to compare cats and dogs, like two totally different, I don't know what to call this, but I'm just gonna say like a subspecies of carnivore, where you have the feliforms and the caniforms, like the two completely different kind of mammal. And to me, dogs aren't animals, okay? I've already explained this. I think they're mutants. It's not that I think, I know they're mutants. Their DNA's been altered by human beings to the point where they're just shells of whatever wolf, species they came from. They're not even animals to me.
Caniforms are more generalist in nature and invest a lot into the olfaction skill tree, letting them track the scents of whatever they need, be it scavengeable carrion, prey, fruit, honey,
To
water,
me, dogs
or
are
teammates.
scavengers, okay? They're not hunters the way their coyote brothers or cousins are. To me, I like coyotes a lot. I like wild dogs and coyotes. They're completely different than domesticated dogs.
Tend to have a lot of stamina, allowing them to run for long distances without tiring. Feliforms, on the other hand, doubled down on the carnivoran archetype's original strategy. They spec'd into even more abilities meant to crank up the efficiency of the hypercarnivore game plan. The ability Tongue Papillae allows felids to extract even more value from fresh kills. Instead of investing heavily into scent-based sensory power, feliforms tend to focus more on their hearing and eyesight abilities. This doesn't help them scavenge, since things like carcasses and berries don't make sound.
Yeah, so
but it does
cats
make them
are primarily
incredibly good at
hunters.
detecting hidden prey.
Like I said, they mainly use their ears to hunt.
Don't make
So
sound,
cats aren't
but
really
it does make them
scavengers. I
incredibly
mean, I
good
guess
at
you can make an
detecting
argument that alley cats are scavengers, and they kind of have to be, because that's just, like, they don't have a hunting ground per se. If they live, like, let's say in an urban environment, they can kind of pretend to hunt, in a sense. Not really pretend, but they can hunt mice still. But for the most part, cats are going to be, they kind of become scavengers just from their environment. It's not because they are scavengers.
hidden
But
prey.
cats are just like,
Also, in keeping with the
pure
carnivore's
hunters.
first major advantage,
Compared to like dogs. Dogs are just straight up scavengers, in my opinion. And I know there's arguments to be made for different breeds, like let's say hound dogs or whatever, that are actually bred to be good hunters. But to me, it's like those breeds on their own do not survive without a human involved or any kind of human intervention. They don't survive in the wild the way cats do. Like, dogs need humans in order to survive. If it wasn't for humans, dogs wouldn't exist. And that's the argument I make for dogs not being animals. God's created animal.
successful kill is
Disgusting.
made, dogs and humans naturally split the reward and both benefit. Dogs are also great defensively, as they can keep watch at camp and alert party members of approaching enemies. Cats are generally pretty useless in this regard. They don't have anywhere near the endurance required to chase down prey over long distances, can't square off head-to-head with those builds anyway, and aren't nearly as reliable for early enemy alerts. The kills a cat makes can't realistically be shared with humans either. It wasn't until humanity unlocked the agriculture ability that the player base began to notice additional vulnerabilities they didn't need to care about before, vulnerabilities that dogs couldn't really help with. When operating off of a hunter-gatherer strategy, humans could basically ignore all builds in the low weight class. Rats and birds were no threat to humans, and also not worth the effort to take down, so it makes sense for them to just focus on larger quarries. However, when the focus shifts to farming and food storage, those same builds humans were ignoring before suddenly became one of their biggest threats. Having a granary raided and its food reserves destroyed could easily wipe out an entire human settlement, so figuring out proper security for these storage sites was critical. Dogs simply are not effective enough at stopping pest infestations to fill that role. They cannot climb or fit into small spaces, and aren't stealthy enough to catch the trickier pests.
Okay, that's the
Cats,
part
on the other hand, are
kind of
truly
wanted to go
excellent
over,
at this
which I've
task,
kind of
and
really,
come with
I've already kind of gone over that, where I made the claim that if it wasn't for cats, we wouldn't have modern civilization at all because it allowed human beings to settle down in one spot. And that's all, to me, that was all thanks to the cat. And if you want to make an argument that if it wasn't for the dogs, we wouldn't have the hunter-gatherer aspect to begin with, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I think dogs are just pointless now because of this reason. Other than for farm work. You know, people who still use dogs to hunt ducks and all that. Alright, I think that's enough, guys. I think I've made my overall point for this video. Kind of a long video. I didn't expect to go over that whole article. I actually had other plans for this presentation. And I think I have to kind of call it quits because it's freaking almost 4 a.m. by this point. Anyway, y'all tell me what y'all think if you've lasted this long. Y'all have a great night.